Spirit Switchboard, airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3, New Orleans. Welcome, everybody, to Spirit Switchboard. Thank you for joining me. We are broadcasting live from the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Network 105.3 and 107.7 New Orleans. Today, we have an extra special guest. I was giddy for a week waiting to have you on the show. So we are welcoming Lorri Brewer. Lorri Brewer is a real estate agent out of Alberta, Canada. She is an author. She is a near-death survivor. I just feel like there's more labels, if we were really into labels, to add to this.
Exactly.
Right?
There is. There's so much more, but you just have to put a couple on there so you don't just trail everybody off.
Well, yes. And being able to, it's such a funny place to move past a label and still need the label.
Because
to meet people where they're at, right?
Totally. I was actually just having a conversation with my niece last night, and we were talking about the statement, so what do you do for a living? And one of the things in what do you do for a living, when people are on like a disability or they're stuck or they're in between jobs, it kind of plays with their psyche a little bit. So it's like, that is the worst. So we had a really good conversation. I'm like, that's kind of like a label. It's like, so what really are you? I'm like, I don't know. I just fall back to just a real estate broker, but there's so much more that's out there. That's so much more. So I just I just surprise people. I shock and awe.
And meeting people where they're at, depending on what the current experience is.
True.
Until there's a safe to be vulnerable feeling to share all the rest of it. Right. And I used to say I was just a mom. But there was like a whole lot more to it than just a mom.
But the mom is the hardest job to do. If you're ever a mom or a stay-at-home dad, the mom is the hardest thing to do. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's not just a mom. That's the leaders of our little world. So thank goodness we got some good Mother's Days out there, and shout out to all the beautiful moms who are kicking butt out there.
Everybody in that mothering responsibility for sure. Susan Murdoch is just saying hello to both of us. So thanks for joining us, Susan. One of the questions that I wanted to start with that, I want to start with the near-death experience for sure, but really looking at, who Lorri Brewer was prior to that and how that experienced an adjustment for you after. So, moving from having this experience to after and the adjustment energetically, emotionally, how, I know energetically, do you resonate with who you were before that? Or does that feel like a distant person, that you're grateful for all of that experience that she held, but who you are now?
It's very easy for me to explain because it's been 12 years. So it's very easy for me to explain now. So the girl that I was before pre-near death, the only thing that stayed is my body and my hair. And that's about it. Everything else kind of went. Yeah, my language stayed. I can do probably a few more F-bombs than normal. However, the body has stayed. The flavor has stayed a little bit, but everything else has changed. My perception in life, the way I deal with people, the way when I walk into buildings, there's not one thing about me. Like I wished I would have grown up with it. So God bless you for growing up with this, because I would love to hear yours. It's just different when you get the Band-Aid ripped off. And so what you know yourself to be is what you are. I deal in math, I deal in numbers, I deal in facts, I deal in sold comparables. So I deal in the human tangible things that we're talking about. You have a near-death experience, you rip off the Band-Aid, and now I deal in everything almost not human, and I make that's the primary, and then everything else tangible. So before it used to be tangible, with a little bit of heaven. Now it's all energetic, vibrationally energetic, with a
Right.
little bit of tangible. So I'm so opposite, but the recovery, I will honestly say the recovery has probably been one of the hardest recoveries I've ever had to survive in
Mm.
anything that I've done. And I would always say, I wish I was mangled or butchered in some way, because when people look at the old Lorri and see me in a mall, they're expecting the old butterfly and let's go and let's do this. That's what they're expecting. But now the new Lorri approaches them and it's so different. Like, then it's not the hugging, it's not the touching. I'm just guarded, and they're just like, what happened to her? So I'm 1,000% different. I physically remain the same, a little chubbier, but still the same.
Mm, fluffy's good.
Soft is good. Soft is good. It's more the
Fluffy
hot.
is good. How did they, I want to make sure that I'm phrasing this in a way that's sensitive as well too. In understanding, which was really a death experience, not even a near death experience, right?
Yeah.
And so how did they, is it brain? Is it heart? How does that like what experience happens for that to be registered? You know?
So what are we classifying as a near death as opposed to
Yeah.
a verifiable and not verifiable, like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
So basically the category is very simple. So there's a lot of people that have had quote unquote near death experiences. However, they're not verifiable, which doesn't uh, take away or devalue their experience that they had. A near death experience, when the body is on the physical earth, and I can already tell I have to slow down my talk because I'm just going to zing right through this. So I'm going to slow down so it's easier. So the body, when the body can't, for whatever reason, sustain life, what happens is it shuts down. When it shuts down, there's an energy inside of it. So whether it's
Mhm.
shutting down in front of a paramedic or in a hospital room or at your house, like, take that guy, I'm so sorry, I don't watch TV, or but that guy who got crushed in by the actor who was crushed by the
Oh,
thing
yes.
in, do you know what I'm talking about, that one?
Yeah.
I'm going to I'm going to guesstimate that he probably was all alone by himself. I'm going to say he probably had a near death experience. I'm going to say he probably didn't sustain life. People came to him. Yes, he did live. But whether it's verifiable or not verifiable, there's two things that shut down in the body. There's the brain and the heart. So the brain can keep going, but the heart will die. Or you can keep the heart pumping, or you can keep the brain moving and keep the heart pumping. So science and doctors don't agree on what that is. Science will say it's the brain. The doctors will say it's the heart. Without the heart, the brain can't pump. The science will say without the brain, the consciousness, then nothing else matters. So here's where we can't even seem to agree on this, because the problem is they're doing a lot of studies now, and what they're saying is when the physical body stops working for whatever reason, regardless of where you are, the energetic consciousness keeps going beyond physical body death. So it
Right.
doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter where it happens. Mine just happened to be lucky, I guess, or unlucky, doesn't matter. It just happened to be in a hospital where they were trying to revive me. Had it not been in the hospital, I probably wouldn't be here. And I don't think that technology has become so good now. There's so many more people living than they are dying when they're trying to resuscitate them. But there is a serious thing called, like, there's physiological after effects when the body is fully dead and that body comes back. It has trauma. It's got physiological after effects, which are documented, proven, shown time and time and time again. But nobody wants to tell you when you're dead in a hospital and they come back, because of skepticism, because of liability. They don't want to talk about that. They just kind of want to not push it aside, but there's no mental wellness for the people who survive that. So one of my passions is being with near-death survivors, because my recovery, Kerrilynn, was absolutely the most traumatic recovery that I had to bounce back from, and there was nobody helping me. There was no rule book for this. There's no rule book for a mom, and there's absolutely none for this.
Right. Chris, I just want to share with you, Christopher gave us the name of the actor. In my head, all I could hear, yes, thank you, Christopher. It was Jeremy Renner.
Oh,
Yeah, I think.
thank you.
All I
Thank
could think
you.
of was Hawkeye in my head. Hawkeye. He
I
plays
don't even know
Hawkeye.
what that is. So it's like, sorry. So
Right. Comic books. But we could have a conversation about that another time. So when you're slammed into having to maneuver healing on your own and understanding this whole new experience on all levels, and not having outside resources or mentors or a community to lean on, must have felt very isolating.
yeah, isolating, definitely without hope. And you just know that and even now, I'll still say, I just don't fit in. So in meeting you, I have to tell you, I feel like I'm not alone anymore. So it feels like, and I
Yeah.
would like, and I'm definitely not, I always would say, the trigger is because when you have such a private event and everybody wants to talk about it, it's very private. And so you open yourself up for vulnerabilities where people can sling a whole bunch of stuff at you. So unless you're prepared for the attributes and the good job, and I'm very proud of you for coming out of the closet, you also got to be prepared for the harsh realities of some negativity coming my way. But now meeting
Yeah.
you, it's kind of like, oh, I don't feel so alone anymore, because it's kind of nice to be
I'm
with
so
somebody else.
glad.
It's like comparing notes. It's good though. Like, I'm better.
Amber is just saying that she's had people overdose and come back very angry that she ripped them back from that heaven space, and
Amber,
describing how amazing their experience was on the other side. Can you
Amber, I have
resonate
to
with that?
tell you, I hated every doctor. Shame on you. Shame on you.
Yeah. It's
Still, even after all these years, some things still catch me. And so I am I am grateful for being here. I have a son. I am blessed to be here. So I'm not gonna say that I'm not. But for where I was to where I'm at now, and not that I don't have a good life. Please don't think that I do. I have a very beautiful life. I'm very blessed. I love my son with all my soul. I have amazing friends and family. I'm so truly blessed.
and a dog.
But and a dog. Sorry. I got more excited over the dog than I did my kid. Okay, it's Mother's Day weekend. He'll forgive me on that one. So I just have to say, I'm so happy, but I'm so angry that how dare you do your job, bring me back. I never asked. First of all, I didn't ask to get there. I
Right.
didn't ask to die. And second of all, I didn't ask you to bring me back. It's just like that's what their job is to do. So I was angry for a long time, and I looked hard to go back, but I didn't know that back meant I had to kill myself. I just wanted to
Right.
go back there. So you didn't connect the dots with being what we would call now highly suicidal. I didn't know. I was just trying to go back. I wasn't suicidal. Do you know what I mean? So there's a
And
fine line.
it's a feeling. I have not had a near death that I'm aware of experience. The closest that I came, it was during a session where I was put in this gentleman's body, seeing through his eyes, his apartment in space, how he passed, and then from the other side, it was a totally different perspective because he was in a healing space. And so I have during that session, I had trouble articulating the colors, the smell, the word, the warmth. It was unconditional love that we do not have here. Even though we say it's like unconditional, it's not. It's always conditional. We get frustrated and not talk to somebody, right? We withhold because we're frustrated, which is conditional. Um, And I remember seeing this person, it was floating in gauze, what I perceive as angels were singing words that I cannot describe, and they had family member come up and said, "Come back at another time," and boom, that was all gone, and I was slammed back into my body, and I remember just from that little experience being in a funk for about 3 months and frustrated that I had a meat suit and I wanted to go home because home felt where that unconditional loving space was. So I couldn't, I could empathize, but I didn't have that adjustment in the same way that you did on all levels.
It was so when you're sitting, it's just hard because I was physical 1 minute, and I know because I of course I believe in heaven. I was born and raised Catholic, Roman Catholic, so of course I believe in heaven. I believe in that stuff, but you just don't know if it exists. You hope that it does, but you don't know. So here I am in a physical. I know I'm in an SVT. I know I'm in the emergency room. I know things are going bad, and then all of a sudden it's like I'm not going to be here. So I started giving orders. You got to take care of mom, and this is what you're doing. And so I started. I didn't know in the moment, but I was already surrendering. And this comes to the point where this is the will to live. When people have such a ginormous will to live that they fight that. And I do believe that will to live is such a power, power, power. That's the
Mhm.
same thing that heals our bodies when we are sick, that same vibrational strength that can heal us. So this power. I didn't say I have the will to live. I'm like, I'm good. I'm okay. I'm checking out. This is good. Here's my ticket. Punch my stamp. Like I'm good to go. And
Yeah.
so I'm giving my to-do list to people, the little bossy girl I am. I'm giving my stump. I'm not like you do, 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 do. And then I'm good. And so I was ready to go. And so I was leaving. And the next thing I know, I didn't even know when I came back awake. I didn't even know where I was. I half of me was still there, half of me was here. I was in the crux of the in between, and so that's what I call it. I
Right.
feel I the best way I can describe it is the in between, and there's no other words. But yeah, it's been the immediate shock of being human to energy and then back to human again. Ooh, that was not a good trip. That was not a good ride.
And when you start, which you do, energetic clearings, you do crystal grids, you work with aromatherapy, like there's all kinds of energetic vibrational things that you do, which adds to your vibrational level when you're doing it. Um, you kind of get to this place where you you're telling people, at least I don't want to speak for you, but you can tell me if it resonates, where you say, if anybody wants me to volunteer when I'm back on the other side, the answer is no, not coming. No, thank you. Gonna hang out over there. Don't
Yeah.
need to come back.
No, it's
Someone
like
sees me volunteering because I'm that way, people pleaser, hit me over the head with a shovel. Don't let me come because
it's like
no.
totally. It's so, and I, of course, I love giving. So, one of the excuses I have is when I do all my energy work, which I love it. Like, I'm still a real estate broker. I'm still running a brokerage. I have business to do. I still have to pay bills. Like, I have tangible life things that have to be done. However, my play zone is still all my energy work. Like, I have some really cool things that I do want to show you. I just don't, I have some such cool things, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
The hard thing is that's how I started getting better when I started saying, okay, there is two sides to me. There is a physical side, there is an energetic side. And once I started seeing the difference between the two sides, because all I could do before near death, all I could see was physical. After near death, all I could see was energy. And I didn't know how to marry the
Right.
physical with the energy. So when I do sessions, because that's one of the things in my journey, when I did sessions, I don't know how you do it. It's so exhausting. I kudos to you. God bless you for doing what you do. I couldn't, I'm constantly separating, separating, separating. That is very hard. That's very hard on the body. It's very hard on the physical tool
Mhm.
of the body. And I don't know that people understand how
No.
physically taxing it is.
Mm,
It's
I would say not.
exhausting.
I
I would say not to.
I would say that for the most part, people don't. And I need to take ownership of that as well too, because I don't articulate to people I don't always articulate to people um, what it's like for me afterwards. I don't always give them the space because you were just so used to being fiercely independent. And away we go with there's other things to do. So it really is jumping from one thing to another. I think with age, not that I feel super old, but I am in my 50s now. So that there is more grace with myself and giving myself permission and saying what I'm needing now in order for me to sustain what I'm doing. So you must, in order for you, have very clear boundaries um, to do what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's kind of like because I'm so again, you're Ontario, I'm Alberta, and
Right.
the law enforcement is near and dear to my heart. And I just have to say that OPP lost a member. So I'm just giving a quick shout out to the family and all the members over there. I know that it's tough. So we've lost a lot of members this year already so far.
Mhm.
So my heart goes out to law enforcement. You definitely have my love and prayers going your way. Now, that being said, I try to give back. It's almost like, and I always laugh, it's like confession when people come, not that I'm better than anybody else, we're all the same. But when people come and they need help and I'm a little bit tired, it's like, that's okay. You know what? I can rest tomorrow. And that's how I seem to push it aside. But
Yeah.
now, like you say, being a little bit older, a little bit wiser, it takes a little bit more to get exhausted. So now it's like, now I have rules and boundaries. Now it's like when I'm going to do, like a crystal gridding or I'm going to do something, there's a couple of really good, I have them chaperones, my soulmate girls.
It's
I've
fabulous.
got Cheryl will do it. Natasha will help me. There's AJ my son has taken me. So I have to say that I've been blessed that they actually take me there and they take me home. And when I'm all kerfuffled, because after it, I know how tired you are. I get it. When people say, how was your session? They mean, how was your session? I mean, how are you?
Yeah.
How was the session? Because sometimes if it's very deep and intense and it's a lot and it sucks so much energy, there's so much energy in our little battery. And when we give this much to the
Yeah.
session, when we come home, it's pretty depleted. I
Yeah.
barely could. I've got a Natasha, there's a lot of people that come and they feed me food because I barely can even eat food. I'm that
Right?
right. I'm so and people are like, "Oh, you did a session, Kay. That's good. Let's go out and let's hit a movie." Uh, I I
And you don't watch TV, so I don't know if you get this, but I equate it to Al Bundy from that show from a long time ago. Al Bundy, which you don't watch TV, so you may not know, but Al
I
Bundy and
do.
Home. Okay,
Yeah.
so Al Bundy, the shoe salesman. So Al Bundy and Homer Simpson mashup. That's me after a bunch of sessions. I just want to be drooly on the couch, maybe with my pants undone or off.
It's
Because it's like
for me
extra sensitive.
for me, I'm almost like brain dead. I'm just
Yeah.
like space cadet. So it's so funny because we did one of the little investigations and I came home and as soon as I came home, I was like, I'm starving. And in the moment, I'm thinking, this is a great idea. So I go and I turn the barbecue on. I was making something on the barbecue and yeah, I left it on. It's
Oh,
just like I
yeah.
totally I can't it's
Takes
very
3
hard.
hours.
Yeah.
I find there's the you can really feel the difference within a 3 hour, but food definitely pulls me down
Yeah.
quickly and grounds me fast, and then I get
And
the chills and cold. Like, there really is a physical thing that happens when you're
that's
shifting at vibrational places.
totally. And so one of the things I do is I can't have no electricity on in the house. I go into my
Mm-mm.
bathtub. It's got to be perfectly dark. It's almost like I've got to totally desensitize.
Yeah,
I just have to totally muffle right down and it's pretty brutal. I'm very grateful that I can do it. A lot of people will
right?
say,
Yes.
they'll say so I bet you if I was born with it,
Mm,
I think that would be called a gift, but
mm.
because it just sparred upon me and ripped everything open, there's a lot of times that I would love to say it's a gift, but there's a lot of time I've been struggling. It's been a very difficult struggle, and near-death survivors, not all of them, a lot of them, they do struggle after and they have legitimate physiological after effects that happen. So unless we can identify it and
Yeah.
help you and walk you through, it's a tough journey that nobody understands and nobody knows how brutal it can be.
And there's a fine line, uh, w with using these abilities, there's a fine line of being of service and an entertainment monkey. And your hackles really go up when you can feel that there's that
Dance
request.
monkey, dance
Yes,
monkey,
where
dance.
it's entertainment monkey and being of service. So there really is a push and pull to be of service. It's a driving, don't know where it comes from, but you just know that that's part of what's supposed to happen when you have this as well too, is being of service in whatever way.
Yeah.
Again, sharing unconditionally from your heart space, all of who you are. So I'd like to share a really quick history about my house. And I know that we've chatted a couple of times over the last week, and I've not shared this with you. So I wanted to keep it for today because I want to use it as a springboard to for you to really be able to pull it all apart and talk about all the things of who
Okay.
you are.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
So we moved my kiddos and I into the house that I'm currently in 6 years ago. This May, actually, our move-in date anniversary just passed. So we moved in here 6 years ago. When we moved into this house in particular had a very bad history attached to it. It was known in the neighborhood as the drug house. It was the drug house. So yeah, when we moved into this house, there's an attic off the kitchen, and that door had 5 locks and a peephole going up into the attic space in it. Makes you.
And did you get to see this house before you bought it?
Oh, it's a rental, which is another layer to this story.
Oh, I have a story for you. Yeah.
I know you do. So this house is a rental. So we rent this home. History of drugs, history of many renters, people coming in and out continuously. So my kiddos are older as well too. So my youngest will be 18 in a few weeks, and my oldest is 30. So I had older kids that have moved around a bit as well too over the last 6 years since we've moved in here. So when we first moved in, my one son took the upstairs attic as his bedroom, which was fine. But upstairs in the attic, he was hearing growls coming from the corner. He was hearing knocks. And when I first came into the space, I knew that there was going to be issues because of the history. Like anybody that walked by, if we were on the porch, wanted to stop and tell us a story.
Oh boy.
It was that known. So I did what I knew in my own spiritual tool belt and putting my tools to work and shifted it. And I didn't feed into any energy that was coming at me from the surrounding neighbors, right? So fast forward to a year in the house, I'm outside enjoying a glass of wine with a neighbor on the porch swing, and this random guy stops at the porch and he said, "Hey, I lived in this house for quite a while. Did you know that somebody died from suicide in the attic?" And I went, "Oh, well, I didn't know that
Thank you for
history,
telling me.
but thank you for sharing all of that." And he shared a bunch of other stuff, and I did not offer wine because I was really not wanting any more of his energy in my space. So I was really hoping he'd chew along fast. So, but it just made sense to me because when I came and when I was doing what I needed to do to shift, sort of the stuff that was happening upstairs, I could feel the layers of it. I could feel layers of anger, layers of arguments. There was definitely layers to stuff that needed to be shifted to meet the vibrational level that myself and my family are at. And we've never had any issues, since then. And I made a very strong effort to change, like painted the porch and flowers on the porch. The porch is well known, and everyone stops now to say how beautiful the porch is and how happy they are that there's a different energy attached to the house, and the people within the neighborhood have shifted themselves based on the energy that's happened in this house. So, but it's a rental. And so I just wanted to share that story because I know on every level, on so many levels of that story, you get it and can explain to the people who are listening um, how you approach this and how you see this and statistics and why that would happen within a neighborhood itself. And you pick a part where you want to start,
Okay.
and away we go.
Okay. So sit tight, Charlie
Yeah,
Brown. We got
I
some
know.
stuff. Hold your booties. We got this. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try. So hopefully I don't go too fast. If I go too fast and there's questions, then we will answer them. But I'll
Do you
just do
want me
my,
to, am I okay to interrupt? I'm sorry, which I just did.
just give
And
me, just give me, I already heard the preamble. Give me 5-7 minutes to go through all my stuff and then I'll hit the questions. Okay. Because
yeah.
once I get rocking and rolling. So we're going to talk about, so as a real estate broker,
Mhm.
that's what we do. I sell houses. That's what we do. That's what I teach. But as a near death survivor, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to show you. I don't know. My mom always wanted to be a teacher. And I think osmosisly, I don't actually, but I think I just got my mother's wannabe gene. And I think she's like living vicariously through me. So there's a teacher part of me. So bear with
Right.
me. So this is, I don't know if you guys can see this. I made drawings.
So
Can
you
you
just
see
have
this?
to explain for our people that aren't going to be viewing as well too, because there's
Okay.
people that will be listening. So explain to the people who
Okay.
are listening what you've drawn out.
Thank you. Thank you for telling me that. Okay. So basically I drew on an 8.5 by 11, a little diagram of what a house would be in a neighborhood, just sketched it out with a black felt marker, nothing fancy. And what a house would look like with a fence around it. It's very, like a 6-year-old can probably do better than me. It's
No.
pretty rough, but I just wanted to show you, I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah,
So
you're perfect.
okay, so you could see the house, you could see the little fence around it. You can see the neighbors around if you can get that, okay? So this is what human beings see, realtors see. This is what human beings see. Lorri pops out after a near death experience. And so what I'm going to show you is how I see a picture of different patterns since my near death that I see. It comes to me in visions like this so people can understand. When I walk into a house, I don't see the attic, I don't see the floors, I don't see the walls. This is kind of what I see. I just basically see circles with dots, and that's kind of what I see with circles and dots and lines in
Right.
this. Okay? So now when I do my work, I you can see this on top of it. So for example, the house would be literally crystal gridded. I don't know if I'm doing a good job here. The house lays right on top of that crystal grid. And that's how I literally can walk in, and each one has different dimetric points. So I see them. It's kind of like The Good Doctor. Did you ever see that show
Yeah.
where he looks up and he's like, and so I kind of look in. And so when I go in there, I can feel the hot spots of the home. So I can
Right.
walk in and I can feel this is a hot spot. This needs this. And so I can literally doctor it up. Every home is totally different. But people are gravitated like you to that home. You are probably, I'm just going to guess, you were probably, when you walked up to that home that you are living in now, you're like, oh my, people will either look to where it is now or they will look to the future of what they could see. You're like, oh, look at this beautiful balcony deck. Look what I can do with it. My soul is singing and this is what I need to be here. Yo, it's a drug house and there's somebody died in here. That's okay. I can just see the beautiful deck. And
Somebody
people,
dies in every house.
I
That's how I look at
exactly.
it. Like there's going to be a dead person in every house, so I
But
can deal with
not
that.
but not even that, but it's all over in different types of
Yeah.
neighborhoods. So the house next door had somebody die. Having people die in
Yeah.
houses is not the astounding thing. What's the problem when we have energy in houses is we have a whole bunch of energy coming from the neighbors. We have energy coming from the land. We have energy
Yeah.
coming from inside the house. And we have a whole bunch. So I see things in points of hot spots with crystal gridding. So when I walk in, it's like, well, that's what this needs. That's what this needs. I can't explain it. I can't teach it. I can't duplicate it. So I walk in, and it's, even if I walk in and I'm visiting somebody, it's like, so the next time I go back, give them a gift and I put it
Right.
on their counter and it's like, this is what we need right here, because it's like killing me. It's like terrible. So I don't try to be controlling in your house, but if
The
I come
gifts
into
are
your,
funny.
if
When
I
my
just,
kids were small, I would
yeah,
get them to put crystals, choose crystals and put them in a potted plant to bring to school in their classrooms and give it to the teacher.
it's like, here you go.
Yeah, we're gonna shift it.
It's just very difficult when we deal. So normal houses that we all have energy. We have all of energy. It doesn't matter whether you have 2 animals in a home, 5 animals, 4 kids, 2 kids, 1 kid, lots of neighbors. I have a beautiful neighbor next door, Sarah and Tom. I have to tell you, I'm so blessed with great neighbors. The energy flow that we got going is so good. And so you kind of get the juju in the jam in the neighborhood going. But when you have a neighborhood, so if you go back and do some research, if you go back into that, and it doesn't matter where you are, if you go back and research your neighborhood community, and you have to go, because you've been there a while, you have to go back and you will see that there has been some serious trauma. It doesn't mean you live in a bad neighborhood. Let's be clear. There's
Oh
been
no, we
some,
can say that out loud.
okay.
Is the people who have experienced or been in this space kind of know. So yes, shift. I'm sorry. You just keep going.
So
Yes.
what happens is when you shift the home with whatever I do, I automatically shift the neighborhood. So by
Right.
having you come, little Miss Flower, into that little neighborhood,
Yeah.
you are in what they would call a stigmatized home. A stigmatized home doesn't have to be where murder or suicide happened. It easily is. There was a grow up. There could have been, it could have been
Yeah.
where drug dealers were, where gangs were. It's any stigmatizing event that happens in a property where buyers or renters psychologically have trouble living in because of the stigmatizing event. It could be very simple. Parents could have severely abused children and people won't live in that house. The sticks and bricks of the house still can be cleansed. They all can be cleaned.
Mm.
But it depends. Be careful how you clean it. Again, if you go in and I always say, if you put water on a gas fire, I got some firefighters. You don't put water on a gas fire. If you do that, you're going to blow some stuff up. And so
Mhm.
that's why I'm saying, if you don't know what you're doing and how to cleanse something, just send an email, ask questions. It's easy to get the tips. It costs nothing, but don't fool around in an area that you don't know, because when things get worse, I've been in houses where people call me in and I'm the last resort. I'm the cheapest, freest, fastest, quickest resource. I'm the last one in, and they've got all these people going in and they're just blowing this place up. And it's just, so I have to rip down all the layers, and it's like, hey, stop this now. So it's frustrating. It's hard, but yeah, my house, when you walk in, we're pretty zen den here. We're pretty zen. You hear my dog? He's not even barking. He's got a bone. That's why, actually. I gave him a bone. Okay.
And that's the thing, it's layers. It's
Yes.
layers to the energy of people that are living in the space. It's energy that's coming from around
Yeah.
the space, and then the history.
Yeah. Yeah.
So stigmatized versus haunted.
Okay. Stigmatized is what happened in the house.
Mhm.
Um, you had drug dealers. Stigmatized. You had a brothel. Stigmatized. You had a grow up. Stigmatized.
Something you can
Haunted.
see.
Correct. Stigmatized is the event that took place in the property which leaves it psychologically unwanted. Ain't nothing wrong with it. She's beautiful. Sticks and bricks are sexy, but it's an unwanted, psychologically dirty, impacted house. That's stigmatized. Okay.
Right.
Haunted. Haunted. Now, I struggle with the word haunted because I don't do
Two.
labels. I don't believe in haunted. I don't think anything's haunted. I got to talk in terms of energy, energy, energy. So,
Just
energy
layered.
layered, but layered and layered and layered and layered and layered. And so, the problem is, so there's a different type of so let's talk in terms of energy. There's a couple of energies. There's land energy, and not just like by burial grounds or stuff like that. There's literally, I was trying to explain last, like the nutrients in a soil. One part of your land is going to be high in nutrients. The other part is lower in nutrients. This part is high ground, low ground. The soil itself in there, whether you've got a stream on your land, the soil itself holds energy. Who was there before? What is the element, so to speak, of the land? Then what happened on top of the land? Then you have the sticks and bricks, and then you have the people inside. When they keep going to estate sales and places like that, and they keep bringing all the stuff in, you're just now layering and layering and layering and layering, and you're like, I've got some trouble. Well, it's hard for me to identify where the trouble is because I've got land, I've got the elements of the land, I've got the house with the sticks and bricks, I've got the people in the house. So
And
I
the
have
neighborhood talking.
and and the neighborhood talking. So the hard part is the first energy is kind of like normal energy. Kids come home from school, they're not doing very good. I call it energetic puking. They're just like cranky all over. They're energetically puking all over the place. That's
Right.
nothing. We fix that as moms all the time. Husband comes home energetically puking. We fix that all the time. We feed him, we give him a beer, and he's good to go. Now, you got the other ones who are layered on top, where in the past there was a violent crime where somebody was unknowingly to themselves taken. So they're still here, much like a near-death experience. They're still here, meaning I'm here 1 minute, I know I'm here, but all of a sudden, if I got something blown off in the back of my head and I'm totally gone, I'm still here. My essence is still here. My physical tool is gone. So when somebody comes into my space, I'm kind of like, what are you doing here? It's like, get out. But I can't touch you. I can't slap you. I can't knock you out. So I energetically try to push you out. And as soon as they try to energetically push you out, when I come in, it's like, whoo, whoo, we got some sparks flying in here. So
I always say it's like spirits that are still in the space are like little children. And they're saying, hey, mom, hey, 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 in all these subtle ways until the subtle isn't working anymore.
yeah, and they get louder and louder, and they don't come at you. They come at you energetically, lights. Like, even so, what I do is when I do all my readings and my session, now I know how to go to the in between. I still go there. But when I go there, it's spinning so electronically fast. That's why I have to be careful, because then I lose connections. It's like everything drops. And today I had no internet, and I texted my son, and I'm like, of course I have internet problems today. I have to calm down. I have to go outside. It's like, of course I do. So I can't spin too high, because then that's when I start knocking out electricity.
Yeah, which is a
So,
real thing.
which is a real thing. So that's what
And
it's called.
watches. Don't wear watches.
I can't wear a watch. I haven't worn a watch since my near death. And people think I can't even wear it as jewelry. I can't. I can't. So there's cleansing. So if I can leave a couple of things with cleansings, not everybody's go-to seems to be, let's sage it. Let's sage it. What's your
Which
thought?
sometimes it's just, I say, sometimes sage is just like pot for spirits because it's just calming them down. It's not really doing what you think it's doing. It may for some experiences, right? But it's in other, it's a layer of something, but it's
And
chilling,
and for
not
some, it just ticks them off, and it's like,
yes.
what is this stink? And then
Yeah,
next thing you know, you have more trouble. So
more.
I always say, if you drop a drip of water, you're not going to get bleach to wipe it out. You're just going to use your sleeve. If you put ink on there, you might get some Windex, or you might get some rubbing alcohol, or you might get something to do it off. Now, if you get blood or something even farther, or if you get something so bad, you're going to go to the next level. I'm just saying, not everything needs sage. So, and it needs to be done very daily. It's like
So
daily.
that's the next part of it, isn't it? Like the people that are living in this space being disconnected
Yep.
from what energy feels like for them to get it, to maintain it. It's almost, Lorri, like you need to have the care and feeding of a healthy, energetic home as a master class.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
like,
So I have to tell you what I did with, oh my God, I'm getting excited. Okay. So in order to know what to do, your body has to be a good tool to
right,
know what to do. So we have to clean our body. That doesn't mean a cleanse. That means we kind of need to understand. So we have to test how we're doing in different things. So just in January, so 2 times a year, I always have in the beginning and in fall, I do a workshop that really opens up all the intuition. So I had the ladies down. And so this one was a small class. We only had six or eight of us. I'm so sorry, girls. 6 or 8 of us. And what we did is I just tested. And by the time they seen the collective energy of what was
right.
happening, it was so incredible. It still gobsmacks me. I still get giddy and pee my pants excited. It's just like, this is crazy stuff. And I wish people could see it. And so in
And
fall, I still
watching
do.
that, like
Oh,
watching people have the aha moment when they
yeah.
can start to discern
Yep.
their energy, somebody else's energy who's living energy that's crossed over. And when you're watching them have those ahas, it's you literally get giddy and joyful for them. And there's a bit of relief that you don't feel responsible to help them along anymore,
Yeah.
which sounds selfish, but
No, it's
that's part,
empowering.
it is empowering. That's the
Totally
whole point.
empowering them. Yes.
Empowering the people that are in the space.
Yeah.
Because
That's
you could go in and clear it, and then the next week somebody else go in and feel it if the people that are in the space don't know how to shift it, like to maintain it.
Yes, yes, and they have to, but people will know when they walk in. People already know when they walk in, they're like, "Oh, I don't know, something's off." So we talk about it, whether it's cooking, we talk about it for grief. So people who are skeptics, which I am a very healthy, I'm an optimistic skeptic. I'm still good with it. I'm still constantly doing it. I'm not born with the where I'm used to it. It was literally snapped in half and it's like, here you go, live with this. It's like having a new normal. So is that for you too? Even though you were born with it, is it still, do you feel like you fit in?
No.
Okay, that's good. That's so good.
Like not on any level do I feel like I fit in, which is why when I did a Google search and it just was stigmatized homes. And that was the word that I had heard in my head in the morning. So for me, I always get my hits, I guess, my intuitive hits best first thing in the morning. So I woke up and I had set the intention before I went to bed. What do I need for my next show? And I heard stigmatized homes. So I had did this Google search and you came up on the search, but I couldn't find the video. I just saw written like a little write up. And I hemmed and hawed over dialing the number because I know for me, when I see somebody calling, I'm like, how come they didn't text me? Like, how come, how come it came this way? So I didn't want to be that person because if you were energetically sensitive, I understood you would be energetically sensitive having that near death experience and doing the work that you do. So I didn't want to be in your space and up in your grill too much. But I called and then it felt like, I don't know, like I had found family. It was the weirdest thing. And for you too, like it was a weird experience for you to answer the phone.
Well, it's so funny because on my phone keeps coming up spam, fraud, do not answer, spam, fraud, do not answer. And then all of a sudden, and so what do? I look down and I'm like, this can't really, I don't know why I don't listen, but I'm like, can't really be spam. So I answer it all the time and I haven't clued in yet. So I keep answering it. Sure enough, it's spam, fraud, and it's not very good stuff. So then Natasha, the girl in one of my colleagues in the office, she's like, and today is like a full moon and it's a beautiful day. And here's what we can do. And you can put cinnamon and you do this little thing and you rub it together and it's all good. And I thought, I'm going to try this. I'm
Good for
going
you
to
for
try
trying.
this.
I would
I'm
have
going
giggled.
to, I did. But here's the thing. I didn't have cinnamon. I didn't even have enough cinnamon for a piece of toast. So
Right.
all I had was cumin or the brown stuff too.
Yep.
It was, so
Human.
I looked brown C, Cumin. So it's cinnamon, it's got the same words. It's brown. It's in a bag. It's very similar, I'm sure. I don't even know what it is. It's from my mom and dad's spices from 15 years ago that I haven't emptied. So I took it, I poured some in my hand, and I'm like, well, what the hell? What could it hurt? I put it in there, I rub it, and she goes, and you have to throw it at the front door. So I rub it and I go, and I throw it at the front door. Like, well, that was pretty stupid. I don't know what's going to happen there. Like, that was pretty stupid. Okay, that's good. Then I thought, I wish I could just help more people. There's so many shootings right now, and I can do crystal gritting and I can cleanse things back to normal. And I want to get to that. And how do I get this message out? And bring, phone rings, look down. Who is this? I think it didn't say spam, didn't say fraud. I still answered it. And it was like, hello, my sweetheart. How are you? And that
was a weird coming home.
Right.
Which was, it was totally unexpected. And I think that it from my perspective, because I've been thinking about it a lot over the last week, that coming home feel, when we are feeling energetically low because we've been working a lot and we don't necessarily have people that understand or have the same depth and level of experience. It's hard to share. Like, everybody has that person they can share about their day with. And when we have experiences that are so outside of the normal and not necessarily have that person that would really get it. So that feeling of home was there.
And not alone. Like, one of the hard things for being near death and having all this stuff, like, I am very logical. I have a business. I'm a business owner. I can't come out with woohoo air. I deal with stuff. However, I don't fit well into this human land. I fit much better over there, but I use the scale. But when I come to an energy work, and it's so like, I'm very grateful to do it. I love doing it. I am very honored to do it. It's an honor. I know it's an honor for you. I know you're good at it. And I just will I have to tell you. So in 12 years, I've had so many psychic mediums phone me, want to do a session, have me write their testimonial. So many Reiki people. And I have to tell you, it's been very hard for me because I take them to the in-between and I go to this level and then boop, they stop. And then they're, oh, could you do a reading for me? I'm like, not what this call was supposed to be about, but okay. And so then you go up and then you do the next one. So now I meet you and we go, and she's not leaving. And I'm like, what kind of freak isn't leaving? Where am I dropping her? I'm not dropping her. Why am I not dropping this freak? Like, I'm thinking, where is she going to fall off? And it's like, higher. I still have to do work that day. So I can't play in the in-between when I have to do work. So I'm like, you're like a freak of nature because I'm not sure what this is, right?
Which is why I don't feel like I fit in. Okay, so I need to be mindful of our time because there is something that I wanted to talk about too.
Sorry.
When we're talking about, there has been more suicides, there has been more traumas, crisis deaths. Do you? And I have noticed that too. Like, once we hit that 1 year mark, it was not even 1 year. It was almost like 3 months in, and then steady when we were in COVID. So that energy of COVID, and I read all kinds of reports about how is this being more haunted during COVID, and it just feeds into that because thought process of it's the energy in the space and people coming together. So the emotions that they're feeling in the space, the experiences that they're having during COVID, what was there prior, like it made sense to me that people would say there would be more alleged hauntings in those spaces, and then people not dealing well with their mental health during that experience as well too, and the choices that they were making, and then the aftermath of that. So are you finding the same thing in being a realtor and energetically sensitive, that it's felt even busier supporting people, like more than not that I want there to be a
more than
normal,
most. So there's
but
2
extra
parts.
busy.
But there, yes, super, super busy. But there's 2 parts. There's the physical aspect of it. So during COVID, we couldn't sell a lot of houses. We did get a little, like definitely sales. And then when after COVID came, we sold houses like a Dickens, and we were just pushing them through. Energetically, vibrationally, for me
Mhm,
in those houses, the problems that were happening is people couldn't go out. So what happens is people energetically puke out there. They go to restaurants, they're puking all over people, they're going different places. What's happening is when they couldn't leave their house, they were literally sitting in their own caca, and they're puking energy. And so now it's layering and layering and layering and
yeah,
layering and more. It's like higher and higher and higher. And so when people are like, this is more haunted. No, if so, we just have to just take out all of your little problems here. Let's just cleanse this. So the cleansings were harder. The people were harder. We're used to touching people. We're used to having contact with people. We're used to having the outlets, and we didn't have the outlets. When you feel bleak, abandoned, with no hope, that's where we all want to go back to the in between, because we all know there's a better place and we
mhm.
seek it out. The bad news is, if you're not highly successful, the return back home um is very tough on that return back home.
Yeah, and and supporting
Oh,
the family that is here, left in
yeah.
the aftermath of that, crisis.
That's why I have my dog, where I'm doing a lot of working with my puppy. So it's good. There's a lot of soul work that needs to be done. There is a lot of caregiving that needs to be done. And that's why, if there is a stigmatized property, I have, like, so for example, for bookings, I have a 1 hour free consultation. It doesn't cost money. And it could be like, here's a stigmatized property. How do I navigate it? Because the more we can raise the vibration level of the lowest
Right,
vibrational link, the better you and I survive in life, right? The more, the
and
better, the easier life is for us.
and empowering people with the language
Yes.
and understanding,
Yeah.
which is important. That work is super important. I'm so glad that you came on, and I know that we have, like, more to share, so I hope that you feel welcome to come back on at another time.
I do. And I thank you. I
Oh,
thank you. It's good. I have so much, like I have so many goodies in the tickle trunk. It's like, check this out. I've got so many little house cleansing tips that you can do. It doesn't cost money. It's not hard. It's not expensive.
so how about we do that as a focus the next time you're here? That whole house cleansing tips and tools and understanding energy and how they're choosing, how they understanding how their energy pulls them to choose one way or another, and how
Okay.
intuitively they're being guided to make those choices.
Okay. That
So
sounds good.
I think that would be a great next segment for us to focus on.
So it's a date. We're we're
I love
across
it.
we're across Canada, and it's like, it's a date.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, I think so.
if there's any questions, like, I don't know how this works, but if there's any questions, whoever has,
For
you
sure.
just get a hold of me with whatever your viewers have. You
So they have, access to your, website and email address as well
Okay.
too, and the show will be archived. So do you wanna give your you can say it if you wanna give your website address. How can they reach you?
So it's Lorri Brewer, Lorri with 2 R's, brewer.com. And on the back where it says a book an appointment or contact me, you can actually schedule an appointment for, if you need a realtor. Here's another thing. If you need a realtor, whether it's Ireland, United States, Canada, just because I'm a real estate agent, I will be able to mesh your energy with another realtor wherever you are. That's how I'm going to know you're going to pick the right realtor and you're not going to have some real estate trouble. So I do that. And we can also do different things that will help people very quickly. But yeah, the more we can help the people get their stuff out and learn about cleansings and learn about to keep just life a little bit lighter, life will flow better. And
Mhm.
I'm Kerrilynn, I'm just grateful to have met you. And I'm so
Thank
honored to have
you.
had this time with you.
Thank you. I was really excited, like, all day, it felt like I was waiting for Christmas.
Me too. I'm like, is it 2 o'clock? Well, for me, it's 2 o'clock. Is it 2 o'clock?
Yeah.
Is it 2 o'clock? Is it 2 o'clock? So it's good. So it's wonderful.
Well, thank you for being on Switchboard with me, and would definitely have you back. And we'll have that focus about giving those tips and tools and tapping into their own energy. And we can set it up kind of like our little masterclass on Spirit Switchboard. So
I'd
I
like
want
it.
to, yeah, thank you so much. I want to thank all the listeners, and we are thanking the United Public Radio Network. We are thanking the UFO Paranormal Network. So thank you so much, everybody, for being part of this journey with me. You've been listening to Spirit Switchboard with host Kerrilynn on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 New Orleans.